Hello everyone, this is Bowser Galaxy 10.
This is going to be a very interesting review because me and Joel have absolutely different opinions on the validity of this one. It is the most I want to say one of the most hated Star Wars movies. It's the most hated of the first six, I can easily say.
Yeah. As Last Jedi? Heck no, but...
or even the final one.
Or even Rise of Skywalker. No, I don't think it's as hated as those, but...
Yeah, I don't hear as much hatred to this one. Mostly I hear indifference to this one.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 2 in our Star Wars Holiday Marathon, Attack of the Clones. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So this one's gonna be different because me and Joel, again, have different opinions of this.
Yeah.
If I am reading this correctly.
Now, I will say this. I don't think this is a good movie.
Working on, we're getting closer.
I don't think this is a good movie. I might, maybe call it an okay movie. Maybe.
I'm just completely indifferent to it, where it's like, there's nothing here that you can't get from the other movies.
I think this movie...
And anything that it tries to do to make itself different is just done by other movies of the Star Wars. Like, anything this movie has, the others do better, or very quickly realized bad idea. I will say this, though. There are some parts that I do like about this movie.
Yeah. I think...
Like, this one isn't garbage. It's just not good.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I think... I like, a lot of... Like, I feel like some people make this movie out to just be bad all around. I think there's a good movie in here somewhere.
It's just buried by a bunch of stuff that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So let's go through the movie bit by bit. Do you want to go over story or characters first? Like story points or characters?
Usually 2 characters.
Okay, let's go for an easy one. Obi-Wan's perfection.
Obi-Wan is perfect as always. Look at that beautiful man.
His portrait of a man.
Obi-Wan is one of the few things in this movie where you just like, yeah, he's just great. This is a great thing.
That's not saying much. Obi-Wan's always great.
Well, Obi-Wan is as great as he always is.
There's a reason he got a series.
Even this movie cannot do anything to mar his
Also, I love how a bunch of people are like, he really only starts getting super quippy around Revenge of the Sith, and I'm like, have you seen this movie?
He only starts getting quippy around Revenge of the Sith. You're right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short. It's like his 5th line in the entire series. What do you mean? Anyway. Got that off my chest.
Yeah, the Obi-Wan, perfect.
Obi-Wan
no problems.
Perfect.
Yoda's kind of here.
Yoda's fine.
I can tell Frank Oz is in pain trying to do a scream. Doing a Commander Yoda with his...
Around the survivors, a perimeter create!
It's clearly shown that he was not used to yelling in Yoda's voice. Alright, let's go for some other easy ones.
Well, real quick, the Yoda fight is cool.
Yeah.
It was cooler back in the day. It's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was the coolest thing. Kid me thought it was the coolest thing ever.
It's only kind of 2 minutes, and then it just leaves.
So, it was two of the coolest minutes of my life.
He doesn't even get a hit.
So, you usually usually get like one hit in a lightsaber duel. At most.
That's why most of them I don't like.
That's how most.
Okay, let's go for another easy character. Man, the Fets are very overrated, aren't they?
Yeah.
Django is just kinda here.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he's this weird bounty hunter guy. And then he disappears for the actual villain, and then they're like, oh yeah, you are still alive, aren't you? Slash, done.
Let me just point out a kind of sad thing. Almost, I'd say just about every single one of his named clones is cooler than he is.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Also, the less said about Boba in this movie, the better.
Boba really just has cool armor. The end. Boba's not that cool, honestly.
Nope.
Why are there pitchforks outside? Why are people with torches and pitchforks outside?
That's the melee people. Though there's only like 2 more for you.
Oh. Gotcha. So yeah, Django's not that cool.
Yeah, and Boba's just kind of here. I forgot his name. Windu.
Ace Windu.
He's a main character, I guess.
He's kind. I kind of like him as like sort of like the poster child of the Jedi's arrogance and blindness to what's going on. I think it works pretty well for that. He's kind of obnoxious as a character, though.
This is kind of the only time I've ever seen Samuel L. Jackson not being badass, and it's kind of weird to me. It's just kind of weird to say Samuel L. Jackson like one of the most meh parts of a movie.
Shrug.
Okay, I think that's all the main characters, except for the hardest ones to talk about. Oh boy, can't... Wait, Dooku!
Dooku!
Kinda there!
He's kind of there, but also Christopher Lee is an amazing actor, and...
Yeah, I don't think Dooku's well written or anything. I just think Christopher Lee just went with it and it worked. I think it works because it's Christopher Lee and just...
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If you get a person who's an actor who can say lollipops in a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, and that lollipops is one of the most threatening lines in a movie, he's gonna work as your villain, no matter what you try.
Yeah. But there is also kind of a cool side to him in that he actually seems to actually feel...
Yeah.
Like, he actually feels
He's like the only one of these where it's like he does not want to kill the Jedi. Like, he wants them to join his side instead, and he's like... Of course.
I think he already knows, they're not going to join me, but I'm going to give them that chance.
Yeah.
And he's like... I knew this was coming, but I'm still sad
I
about
could
it.
talk about a villain that he reminds me of, but that's a huge spoiler, so I'm not going to.
I think I might know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But okay, let's get into the very big elephants in the room. Can we really do these apart? I don't think we can really do them apart.
No, I don't think we can.
Anakin and Padme. There are issues.
There are issues.
I think most people can be like, this is a perfectly fine Star Wars movie. I don't think I've seen anyone defend this part of the movie. I don't think I've seen anyone defend the Padme Anakin romance part.
Well,
Oh god.
I'm gonna say I like about a third of it.
Ugh.
I think it's still bad, but I think
Third.
there was a little bit there that I did like. When they're like playing in the field, I actually liked that part. I think the scenes around it ruined it, kind of.
It feels like
But
that should be
I think if the other scenes were good, I think they could have kept that scene as it was.
Yeah, that scene is the only one that sort of looks like, okay, something's flickering there. The only problem is that it already had creepy touch Anakin and kiss beforehand.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this feels like it should not be in the movie.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like their first kiss, I think I would have liked it if it happened like at the end of them playing in the field. That would have made more sense to me.
Yeah, instead of just being like, we're on this planet. This is a nice looking planet. Rub your back.
Yeah, I saw that.
What?
Okay.
That was fast!
No.
Where it's like, the previous scenes with them, Padme was just looking at Anakin like, get out of here.
He's like, yeah, he's a friend. I like.
He's a friend that I don't really care for that much. And then, next scene, smooching at the end. Being like, I shouldn't have done that. What?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't have any, and
there is no build up for it at all.
Yeah.
They try to do the build up after. And that just doesn't work.
Yeah. But like
Also, I think what they're going for is that they're hoping that you notice some connection in Phantom Menace. There is no romantic connection in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
It looks more maternal than anything.
Yeah, and like at the beginning of this movie, it still seems like that. It seems like Padme views him that way. And then they kiss suddenly. And I'm like,
Now it's like romance.
and now it's romance. But like,
What?
still, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, if they did what I just said and they moved the first kiss to after the scene in the field, I'm like, would I really have that much of a problem with it anymore? I don't think I would, actually.
I don't think that would work either, honestly. I just don't think that scene, how it was written, would work.
I mean, yeah. The way that scene was written, I don't think it would work. But I think if they removed that scene entirely, and they had him, not the way he did, but he did, like, kiss her, and then she said, I shouldn't have done that at the end of the field scene.
No, not even that. Honestly, they could have just removed that reverse scene of the hate sand part. Like, they could have just taken that out completely.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, don't even move it. Just completely get rid of that, and don't even have them show the kiss. Like, don't even show a kiss. Like it would have sort of worked if Anakin was just confessing to Padme. Padme has no idea, and then the more time they spend with each other, then they eventually have feelings for each other.
And
I think that kiss just ruins this romance completely. And even if they did do what I said, they'd still need many more rewrites of this to make it work.
Yeah.
Because it's still rushed as hell.
I don't know.
Like, I'm
the
sorry,
thing
playing in a field does not give you immediate romance tickets. Otherwise, we'd be praising Sonic and Elise.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that one would have worked.
But I do like the idea. I do like the idea that Anakin is rushing things, though. That
It
Anakin's
just doesn't
rushing
feel like
things,
Padme
and
should be part of it.
Yeah,
Should be rushing it with it too.
Yeah, but I don't think.
Did she even mention actually being romantically involved with him at all in this movie? Did she even mention it?
But right before the arena, at least, if nothing else.
So literally the only time we get any kind of romantic affection is when they're about to die.
I mean, I think she's...
And I'm like...
I mean, it's kind of implied that she feels something because she doesn't say, no, I don't have feelings for you. She says, no, we can't do this. Which implies that she does feel something for him. So...
I think it should have gotten rewrote. I think,
yeah,
like the pre-arena thing, I actually do like that pre-arena thing.
But
it's just that everything of the build-up to that is broken by the writing and delivery.
Okay. The biggest thing though, that people criticize that I actually like. I like the way they wrote Anakin in this. I think the problem is Padme. I really like the way they wrote Anakin in the romance. He acts exactly how I think he should. Maybe he's a little bit too creepy. Maybe dial that back a little bit.
Honestly,
but the awkward dialogue, I love it. That's exactly how it should be. It's cringy, but it's exactly it makes total sense for him to talk like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're supposed to like the romance by the end. The problem is you're supposed to. Like, the main thing is that you're supposed to like the romance by the end. You're supposed to be like... I think
you should believe it. I don't think you have to like it. I think you just have to believe it.
And I don't.
Yeah, the way they wrote it, I don't believe it either. But I don't think that you have to... I don't know how exactly they could do this, but what I want them to do is for Anakin to sound cringy, but also make me believe that Padme fell for it. Which I think is something that can be done. And if they pulled it off, I would have really liked it.
Yeah, it could have worked, it just wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the writing was good enough to make it actually happen, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my main thing is, I wouldn't change Anakin's cringy flirting. I like it. And I think if they could pull that off, it would actually make it a fairly unique romance.
They needed they needed better lines, though, to make it work.
Maybe, but like the best part of what makes it cringy and believable.
I think one of the
really cringy and not great.
I think one of the big things that I think I remember seeing a person who I think summed it up best. There's a point where a romance is supposed to build in a story. Like when they're having a heart-to-heart moment before a confession. That heart-to-heart moment is after Anakin confesses that he killed people. That heart-to-heart moment is Anakin confessing that he killed people. A whole town of people. And that is the thing that's rushing up the the next bit, that's the last romance thing we see before the arena, the pre-arena. Where it's supposed to be at that point where Padme starts actually having like full like feelings and supposed to like get Anakin on a heart-to-heart level, and it's after Anakin just confessed to killing things.
I mean,
and it just,
yeah,
the placement is just bizarre.
I mean, this only is like a very slight partial defense of that. He is talking about how awful he feels about doing that.
Really.
That doesn't really justify it, but it does. I'm more phrasing this as it's not quite as bad as you're making it sound, but it's still pretty bad. That's kind of like a lot of my defending this movie it's like it's bad, but people make it out to be worse than it is.
Yeah. But it's like this movie is still just gets for a movie, which, let's be honest, the romance needs to work.
Yeah.
This movie needed the romance to work. Because it's the major defining point in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Is that this romance worked, and then Revenge of the Sith is showing how far this romance is. If you can't believe the beginning of the romance, how are you supposed to believe the later part?
Yeah.
Like, what does it...
The romance is definitely the biggest problem with this movie.
Yeah, where it's like, that's the most important part of this movie. Like, in the whole series, really. This romance working is the whole reason the original trilogy is even allowed to exist.
I mean, also Anakin turning to the dark side.
He turns to the dark side because of it.
True. But...
And if that doesn't
work...
But
I totally believe that Anakin is Anakin's side of it, and so I don't feel like that really hurts his turn to the dark side, personally, but...
It just needed to be better written than this.
Yeah, it definitely hurts Revenge of the Sith a lot. I think a lot of people having problems with Revenge of the Sith is just the fallout of this movie.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
Because this one didn't work. The things that Revenge of the Sith does is continue from the romance plot. This one left off. Because it's that part that fuels the dark side change. And it doesn't work, and we'll get to that when we get to it in the Revenge of the Sith review. It is hurt immensely by this movie. Not getting this part to work.
So, outside of the romance, what do we think of Anakin and Padme? I'll be honest.
Kinda here?
I'll be honest, I don't really like Padme.
No, I don't like her at all.
I think part of the problem is her character just completely, like her character is like pulled in two different directions that are not compatible with each other. Like, the way her character usually is, it doesn't make sense that she ends up falling for Anakin, and it just makes her character seem really inconsistent.
Yeah, she's supposed to be this,
confident, level-headed person.
Confident, level-headed. She runs the clone army near the end, getting them to the bunker before, and literally shooting at Dooku. Yeah, we're gonna have problems in Revenge of the Sith where she's literally breaking down and just staying in the room the whole time.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, I have to admit, I like Anakin in this movie quite a bit, actually. I actually like Anakin in this movie a lot.
Like how Dooku, how Christopher Lloyd works Dooku into a good character. The casting of Anakin was great.
Yeah, Hayden Christensen is a great actor, and he does a great job at portraying exactly who Anakin should be in this movie.
Yeah, I think most people...
It's cringy as... cringy and painful
I think
to
most
watch.
people are under the impression where if this was better written... If this movie was better written, Anakin would have worked with Hayden Christensen. It's just the story, it's like the script and story itself was the thing that made it fail. Like, the pieces were all put together for this to work. It just failed in terms of the writing and character department. But acting itself, perfect. Like, the actor choice of Hayden Christensen worked perfectly. Like, he looks like a person teetering on psychomaniac.
Yeah, like I think I just really love how uncomfortable I feel.
Yeah.
When I actually really like how uncomfortable I feel when he's flirting with Padme. I actually really like that.
It's just that the Padme part doesn't work.
Yeah. Like I want to believe that I want Padme to be in a mental place where I can see how she feels like this is legitimate flirting.
I'm starting to see what you mean on the Padme side being the problem. I can actually see where you're going with that, where it's like, yeah, Anakin was shown to have a crush on Padme back in the day, and being forced to shut out all feelings makes sense that he would get this weird obsession.
Yeah.
So it works on Anakin's end, where he's just like, let me love you. I love you so much. It just doesn't make sense that Padme works.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're right about that, where it doesn't make sense where Padme's the issue.
Yeah.
You know, you are perfectly right on that. I am just noticing where it's like,
I convinced him.
Wait a second, Anakin does work. It's Padme that just doesn't work at all.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you mean now. Like, I wasn't sure what exactly you were going for, but now that you've explained it a bit more, I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was 18 and a half minutes of the love subplot. How about the Star Wars part of this movie?
It's decent.
Yeah.
I feel like I enjoy it quite a bit, but I am pretty sure most of that is childhood nostalgia.
I'll be honest, this does feel like just setup.
I mean, it is.
Like, it feels like this would be like an hour-long pilot of a TV show, which technically kind of does. It kind of does. It kind of is that with the original Clone Wars cartoon, where it is an hour-long pilot episode.
Yeah.
Where it shows the beginning of the Clone Wars happening. Because but aside the love subplot, this movie just kind of happened. Like it's weird how this movie is super important, yet still feels like it just kind of happens.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just I kind of feel like it's like a lot of important stuff happens, but for reasons that I can't place very well because I don't know enough about how to make movies. It just it's just kind of like it's like if you like stop and you think about what just happened, you're like, oh shoot, that just happened, but you just don't feel it in the moment. Like the important stuff is happening, but there just isn't a lot of the movie just doesn't make it impact you very much.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
It lacks impact is the main thing that I was taking from your thing, where it's like, you're right, this kind of does have no impact, where it's like, this is the beginning of the clone, this is like the clone army, which eventually becomes the stormtrooper idea. This is supposed to be a huge moment. It just kind of plays the stormtrooper theme, and then it's like, yeah, there they go marching.
I mean, I think that's pretty good. I think that's the one thing where I'm like, this is pretty good. But outside of that, there isn't really too much.
Hell, you see the freaking Death Star, and it's not even mentioned that long. Where it's like, you don't get impact for that either, where it's like, wait a second, that meeting was literally just creating the Death Star right there. And Dooku being like, we're gonna take over the Republic and show everyone the error of the order.
Yeah.
And that just kind of goes nowhere because his plan fails immediately before it even gets a stepping stone to go off.
I do think that the battle with the clones, though, is pretty cool. I don't think it's fantastic, but I think it's pretty cool.
The weird part of this movie is that it has an alright beginning with the speeder chase, because that's honestly really good CGI. That still holds up today.
Yeah.
And the ending holds up well with the clone droid battle alongside the Jedi's fighting Dooku. It's everything in the middle of this movie that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, this is a movie that's very cited at the beginning and the end with its impact battles. Meanwhile, the entire middle section is just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many stakes. There's even less stakes now that I'm thinking about it, because most of the time we're following Obi-Wan into danger. And let's be honest, who wasn't going into this original trilogy not knowing Obi-Wan's a thing in the later movies and alive and well?
Yeah. The eternal problem of prequels.
Still not as bad as other prequels I've seen where oh yeah, also, what's even the freaking point of C-3PO in this movie? Callbacks, Dan!
Callbacks, funny joke, ha ha ha.
Quote
That
unquote
is one
funny
thing.
joke.
Yeah, that is one thing about the prequels. The thing about the prequels in general, they're funny when they're not supposed to be, and they're not funny when they're supposed to be.
Except F-Sticks. They did that flawlessly.
Death Sticks is flawless.
That is like the one flawless scene in this whole prequel trilogy where I can defend that point, that 10 seconds till the day I die, as the best part of the prequels.
You don't want to sell me Death Sticks. I don't want to sell you Death Sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I
want to go home and rethink my life. That's just perfection right there. But everything else, everything in the middle of this movie is just weighed down. Like there's just nothing happening. Even though they're talking about stuff and showing like a bunch of stuff that pops up later, nothing's really happening.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it's a movie.
It's obvious that why this is the most divisive of all of the prequel trilogy in terms of if this is absolute garbage or not. But I can see that there is parts of a good movie in here. It's just that the middle part is just a slog. Where it feels like it's hours and hours of nothing happening.
Yeah, it's like you can tell that, like, you can kind of see that a guy who was part of the team that who was part of what wrote the original trilogy was writing this, because you can see pieces of George Lucas's genius in this movie. But you also seeing the parts of George Lucas that were taken out of the original.
I think this is the movie that proves one of the biggest points about developers getting too much power. Sometimes it's best that there's that team with the developer saying, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, for example, stuff like Hideo Kojima with Death Stranding, where it's like, part of why Death Stranding failed, and Metal Gear Solid didn't, was, like it or not, Konami had ideas that weren't gonna work with Kojima's vision. And the team around Kojima telling him that this seems like a bad idea, let's not try and do that, let's make it into something different, works. Like, that's something that I've seen a lot more in recent times, where a big high-profile developer is just worshipped as a god whenever they're doing a sequel, not being told that this is a bad idea, and the movie suffers for it. Like, they're unfiltered, and the problem is that unfiltered doesn't work. That's another one that I can do. Another one that actually works really well with this as well is the one from Metroid Other M, where that guy created. People forget that the director of that did Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion.
Yeah.
The only problem is that not many people told him that it was a bad idea or such. Like he was just kind of let alone to do what he thought was good, and everyone had to find what his vision was. Like, I think there's a problem with a developer not being told that this is wrong, and being too overly ambitious with their idea, and not being able to fully explain it. Like, it feels like if you had a bunch of developer heads talking about Attack of the Clones, they'd probably get it to work.
Yeah.
Like there is
someone who actually knows how to write romance.
Like, this could work. It's just that they had no idea that George Lucas was trying too hard to make it work, and didn't have those other developer heads working with him. Of course, I don't know if that's the case or not, but it feels like it. Like, that's what the feeling I get from this movie is.
Yeah.
Also, there's not that big of an action scene in this one besides the arena. And even then, it's not much, because Dooku's only like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the previous movie, for example, had the Darth Maul, and every other Star Wars movie has that like big battle moment that takes up like a good 8 or so minutes.
Yeah,
and where the characters are being tested physically and sometimes even emotionally.
Yeah, I feel
this movie just doesn't really have that with the Dooku fight.
Yeah, I feel like it's supposed to be the fight with the Geonosis battle with the clones is kind of supposed to be that, but I think part of the problem is
our main characters aren't doing
yeah,
anything.
the main characters aren't doing it. One, the main characters aren't doing anything, and two, I think it's riding on the quality of the CGI, which doesn't hold up 20 years later. Which doesn't hold. Well, it holds up 20 years later, but it's not ridiculously impressive 20 years later.
Yeah, it's not something like Gollum or Aubrey 2 effects, where it's like it's a spectacle for the eyes. It's just...
Like, it might have been back in 2002, but not anymore.
I wouldn't even say back in 2002.
I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I was like 5 when this movie came out.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like this is one where it had the potential to work. Like, it had the potential to work, it just didn't. And it failing affects the third movie more than people realize.
Yeah. So, I think I can safely say, though, that this probably qualifies as a guilty pleasure for me. Like, I'm not saying... I'm
not saying this can't be liked. It's just that there are flaws, and that these flaws do hurt. You have to see that these flaws do hurt the third movie.
Yeah, I think probably if I watch this for the first time nowadays, I probably would not like this movie. But there's so much nostalgia and so many memes and stuff in this movie that I have a great time with it. Even if it's not that good of a movie.
You can have an entertaining time with a movie and still call it garbage. That's why stuff like The Room and such exist. But it's like, yeah, this has problems.
For sure.
But I can't call it bad. I'm just gonna say it's not great.
It's okay.
Yeah, it could have been a whole lot better.
Yeah. Now here's the question.
There is in this is alright. Like you can get... I do recommend viewing this, for example. Like it's not like one of those bad movies where it's like, skip it, skip it and don't even watch it.
If it was a standalone movie, skip it. But because it's part of the Star Wars saga, I'd say it's worth it.
Just know what you're getting into.
Yeah, just know what you're getting into, but it's worth the watch.
Yeah.
Now here's the question though. Is this movie better, or is Phantom Menace better?
Phantom Menace.
I think I agree with that. I think I enjoy watching this movie more, but I think Phantom Menace is better.
Honestly, Phantom Menace works better for me because even though the writing itself is bad in Phantom Menace, it's not being hoped to carried by the writing. It doesn't need the writing to be good to make that plot work, because the plot was simple enough where the writing itself didn't need to be very important.
The action is what's important in the movie, and the action is fine.
Yeah, the action is perfect in Phantom Menace. Like, again, Darth Maul. Like that final third of Phantom Menace is really damn good.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, both of these Star Wars prequels movies have a problem with the middle kind of just being there.
Yeah.
Where it's like the beginning of Phantom Menace is actually pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. It's just when they get to the planet and then encounter the Jar Jar, all the way up to like Anakin's pod race, just meh. Where
Yeah, I
it's,
think.
like, but Attack of the Clones was being carried by the writing. It needed the writing to work. Like, Phantom Menace did not need the writing to work. It just needed a few more, like, adjustments to it. This one needed a whole, like, different, like, paragraphs of script to work with.
Yeah, and probably just as far as the Anakin and Padme romance, they needed to just rewrite that. I think they just needed a whole rewrite. There's like one scene that I'd probably keep. The rest of it just needs to be scrapped and redone.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem with this movie is that it, like, Phantom Menace has problems, obviously has problems, but those problems don't work against the movie. It just works against the seriousness and, like, spectacle of the movie. This one fails because it rode too much on the romance working and the buildup of the clone army working. Neither really works as perfect as the movie was hoping for.
The romance is a total flop. The clone army thing is only partially successful.
Yeah.
I think it's decent.
It's
but
decent,
when the movie is riding on it so much, it's not.
Yeah, it's just like this movie was riding on too much for it to work out. Like Phantom Menace, simple plot, simple characters. All you had to do was work a few lines different. Like maybe adjust a few different characters, maybe adjust their lines. Work on Jar Jar. Meanwhile, this one it's like Jar Jar could work in Phantom Menace because it was clear he was comic relief. Padme fails in this, and she's pretty much the secondary main character. Yeah, the more I'm thinking about this movie, the more I'm realizing that Padme is kind of the issue of this movie, and the writing itself. Like, there's not much set pieces in this.
It is kind of funny, though, that, like, my sisters have been saying that, my older sister mostly has been saying this for, like, as long as I can remember, and I'm, like, just now being like, yeah, she was totally right. Padme is the problem.
Yeah. Well, we're probably gonna have a lot more lot less differences on Revenge of the Sith when we get to that.
Yeah.
Like, I am very excited to talk about Revenge of the Sith. Like,
yeah.
That's honestly the movie that I think from the prequels is the closest to being exactly what it should have been.
Honestly, like, yeah. What I feel like, based on my we'll see how much this opinion holds up. Right, my opinion right now is, if Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones were what they should have been, Revenge of the Sith would have been fantastic. It probably might have been the best Star Wars movie.
Honestly, I think Attack of the Clones failing is the reason why the prequel trilogy is looked down upon. Because the first part's nothing's... Phantom Menace has problems, but you can work around the problems that Phantom Menace had. Like, all it had was a few problematic characters. Like, you can work with those. Yeah. Revenge of the Sith is just a bombing final part. Attack of the Clones is the setup, the thing that keeps these together. And I think Attack of the Clones failing is why this trilogy doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's mainly this movie that made the prequel trilogy not work.
Yeah.
Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this movie was very important.
So, yeah, get ready for next time where you get to hear two Revenge of the Sith apologists talk about how great the movie is.
Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, Revenge of the Sith is higher than most of the original trilogy for me. We're going into that territory next time.
For me, it's among the original trilogy. My
probably put it above.
My current thinking is it's above Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit below A New Hope.
Yeah, I'd say about the same as well, actually. So, yeah. That's gonna be a weird one to go to. Well, see you guys then.
Take care, everybody.